with Artie Wilson each Friday morning at 9 a.m. for all the latest on Warrior football, UH basketball, NFL, NBA, and more. Hear guest interviews from around the country, insightful thoughts, and the open phone lines to voice your opinion. Mahalo to sponsors Ultimate Innovations, Artie Wilson and Associates, Hawaii State Federal Credit Union, and the Kahala Clinic for Children and Family. It's On Point with Artie Wilson, exclusively on ESPN Honolulu.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut-rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Pro Football Hall of Famer, Champ Bailey.
Champ, your former team, the Broncos, do you think they have a legitimate shot at getting Aaron Rodgers?
I do, because I think the Packers believe they have their future on the bench. They've been here before with Favre passing the baton to Aaron Rodgers. And then Favre went on to play a few more years. It's not far-fetched. Peyton Manning did it. Even Phillip Rivers left the Chargers after so many years.
Key, J, and Max. Mornings on ESPN Radio.
The Philadelphia Flyers, led by Cam Atkinson, take on David Pastrnak and Boston Bruins, while the Columbus Blue Jackets face off against the Carolina Hurricanes and Sebastian Aho. ESPN Hockey Night, presented by Expedia. Flyers Bruins at 7 Eastern on ESPN. ESPN Plus Hockey Night, presented by New Amsterdam Vodka. Blue Jackets Hurricanes at 7 Eastern on ESPN Plus. Thursday, all for hockey.
Keyshawn Johnson, Jay Williams, and Max Kellerman.
Time is ticking really fast now on Big Ben.
This happened with Derrick Jeter. He was terrible. He cost the Yankees a playoff spot his last year with the Yankees. Kobe Bryant, last year he was awful, and he got a lot of minutes because he's Kobe Bryant. What those players meant to their franchises, they got that last season. Roethlisberger, this has got to be that.
Key, J, and Max. Mornings on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
This is ESPN Honolulu, KKEA Honolulu, AM 1420 and K224FR, Honolulu, 92.7 FM.
This is Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. The NFL playoffs start next Saturday. Today we have 3 playoff teams kicking off the final week of the regular season. It all starts at 4:30 Eastern on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN Plus, with the Chiefs playing the Broncos in Denver. The Chiefs could still get the 1 seed in the AFC. The Broncos season ends today. After that one, 2 playoff teams meet in Philadelphia, the Cowboys and Eagles. ESPN's Bill Barnwell says picking playoff games this year will be challenging.
We sort of have all these teams that are kind of in, a big glob, a big tier of talent. And I think that it's going to come down to matchup and who matches up well with each other from round to round. And then I think who's healthy. And, I do think there are certain teams out there that stand out as teams that are getting healthy as we hit the postseason here.
Bill Barnwell on Spain and Fitz. Browns corner Denzel Ward and linebacker Malcolm Smith both go on the team's COVID-19 list. Both are out for tomorrow's season finale against the Bengals. North Dakota State wins the FCS title for the 9th time, beating Montana State 38-10. It's the 9th national title for the Bison in the last 11 seasons. Julius Randle of the Knicks gets a $25,000 fine for using profanity during his post-game news conference on Thursday night. Knicks and Celtics again tonight in Boston. Cameron Smith holds the halfway lead at the Tournament of Champions in Kapalua. Smith at 17 under, 3 ahead of John Rahm, Daniel Berger.
There's this narrative about Carr amongst the NFL community that Derek Carr is a below-average quarterback. He needs to get the Raiders into the playoffs and even win a playoff game.
More Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max Monday morning on ESPN Radio.
Welcome to the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu. Brought to you by Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. For every sport, for every game, for everyone. In the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.
Good morning. And welcome to the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu. Also our Facebook page as well. Gary Dickman here with Derrick Lowe. Derrick, it's been so long. I feel like I haven't seen you since last year.
I know it's been a while, but it's good to see you back.
It is definitely kind of a lame joke to start it off, but like Hawaii basketball, they have been off all this time. In fact, really interesting when you look at this team. They had a 14-day layoff between going to Santa Clara and then the HBU game, and then the Rainbow Diamond Head Classic. And then after that, they've been off for 18 days. Really a lot of stretches like that. Although Long Beach State just recently came off a 23-day layoff. That's kind of the normal for college basketball again this season. But we are glad the Rainbow Warriors are back. It's the Big West opener against Long Beach State. This is the first time Hawaii has played Long Beach State at the Pyramid in 2 years. I almost forgot about this, but last year, because of COVID, everything was played in 2-game series. You would play Friday and Saturday the same opponent, both either home or on the road. So Long Beach State was here last year. Both games Hawaii won, one by 2, 78-76. The next one by 3, 79-76. So hopefully we'll have the same kind of outcome at least with Hawaii winning. For Long Beach State, it's their Big West opener as well. Going into this week, only 3 games have been played in Big West play, and just shows you that with the COVID effects, it's not just here with the University of Hawaii, it's all around the country and in the Big West. I guess we'll start off with some good news, and the good news is Bernardo Da Silva is on this trip. Bernardo Da Silva is expected to play. He might even start. We'll find out from Bobby Curran coming up in about 45 minutes on that. It's been a while since we've seen Bernardo Da Silva. I just know what a welcome addition he's going to be in that lineup.
Yeah, with all of the, the health issues and health concerns with the UH program, it's always good to see someone coming back in, and especially someone as important as Da Silva. It's always great. And I think they're gonna be able to use him really well going into today's game. So it's good to have him back, and hopefully the other guys are also healthy as well.
We don't have a definite list yet of who isn't on this trip or who isn't going to play. They're not at full strength. Hawaii isn't. One player we can confirm is at home right now here in Honolulu is Mate Chelina. He is still struggling with COVID. Now, he's doing okay. I talked to him the other day. He said he's doing okay, but he hasn't been able to fully shake it. So he's hoping to get back real soon. I guess it's going to be a week-by-week thing for Mate. So I know he isn't on this trip. And, of course, he missed the 2 games of the Hawaiian Airlines Diamond Head Classic right before Christmas. Amardo Lotto, we hear, isn't on the trip. That is not confirmed. We'll get up-to-date information from Bobby Curran. So it's good anyway to have 1 7-footer back. It would have been nicer to have 2, but I'm glad at least we got Bernardo, because in the 2 games before Christmas in the Diamond Head, they didn't have either. And you and I saw those games, talked about it for the first 2 nights. It really affected Hawaii. They just didn't have the rebounding numbers that they're accustomed to without having either of their 7-footer, 6'11" guys in the lineup.
Yeah, as good as DeRosier is at rebounding and holding the fort down in the inside, he definitely missed his counterparts with Da Silva and Chelina. But like I was saying, it's always good to have an active player like Da Silva back in the lineup. I'm sure he's going to be active today. Hopefully, we always talk about the long layoff that UH had, and our players rusty. We know for a fact Coleman doesn't know what rusty means,
right?
And hopefully Da Silva, some of that has rubbed off on Da Silva. So.
He is the leading scorer at 15.3, also about 8 rebounds a game. But again, that was, I believe, in only 3 games this season. He got injured on that road trip when they had the Thanksgiving tournament in Las Vegas. It might have been in practice, if I'm remembering correctly. And he hasn't played since. And that's kind of hindered him throughout his career. And I know we've mentioned it several times, Derrick, that Eran Ganot said before the season his biggest concern was health. And already this season, now COVID you can't control, or you can to a certain extent. But with the numbers out there, you can only do so much. And then the injury factor with Samuta Vea, Juan Munoz, and then Bernardo Da Silva not in the lineup day in and day out. It's definitely made a difference. Let's go back before we talk about Long Beach State and what's ahead today and next week. Let's go back to the Diamond Head. Hawaii loses to Vanderbilt on day 1. And we saw Vanderbilt is a pretty good team. They're not one of the strongest teams in the SEC, but that's a pretty good basketball team. I don't think Hawaii was embarrassed in that game. They did trail by 11 at halftime, and cut it down a few times in the second half to 3 points. They had the effort. They had no quit in them. Just wasn't enough to beat Scottie Pippen Jr. and Vanderbilt that night.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, that was the game where, again, it came down to turnovers. I think Vanderbilt got their hands on a lot of balls and turned them into points. And, when you have that many turnovers and, allowing that many transition baskets, it's always going to be a hard game to come back into and win, no matter how well you do towards the end. But yeah, it's always been turnovers. And so hopefully, with this new addition, point guard of Jackson, hopefully he can kind of help in that department.
Yeah, in fact, we can talk about Justice Jackson right now because we had heard about him. He basically got signed, I think, or actually arrived in Honolulu on a Monday, practiced on Tuesday, and then the Diamond Head was Wednesday and Thursday, and he played on Thursday against South Florida. Hawaii lost that game. Before we get more about Justice Jackson, the ironic part about both of those games is that Hawaii trailed by 11 at halftime in both games. And in both games, the beginning of the second half, they went on immediate runs and really got back in the game both times. So I love the fact that they made adjustments, came back strong. And now with Justice Jackson, he came in that stretch, maybe the midpoint of the second half, maybe a little bit later, played 3.5 minutes, but he was a +7. The number you would use in how many points your team scores versus how many they let up while you're in the game. He was a spark that game. He really was a helpful addition that night.
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, I am pretty encouraged by what he brings to the table. Even though we only saw him for 3 minutes or whatnot, I saw a couple of things that really says a lot. One of the things was his lateral movement on defense. I thought it was really sharp. You could just tell the way he moves laterally. When he slides, he stops on the dime, and he can really change direction. So that was a good thing to have. That he's not going to be a liability on defense. The other thing is, and it was super subtle, but, like I said, I always kind of watch point guards, right? And so I always used to mention that, one of Hawaii's things that they need to improve on is coming off ball screens and being able to make a quicker pass so that you create opportunity. We haven't been doing that too well. So I saw Jackson, he came off a ball screen real quick, and he made a quick behind the back pass. I'm not sure if you remember that. It didn't lead to anything. It didn't do much, but you heard the crowd kind of ooh and awe. And then I saw that, and I was like, that's the kind of passes we need. Coming off ball screens, taking the defense, dragging them out, and then making that quick pass, for players like DeRosier or someone, that's an open shot. So just to see that was a little encouraging, and I think just what UH needs. So hopefully we can see more of him.
That's a great point, because on Wednesday night against Vanderbilt, those passes that weren't as crisp, that really caused a lot of turnovers, the self-inflicted turnovers, which are the ones coaches hate. It's one thing if the defense forces you into a turnover, that's not good, but it's a little bit more acceptable when they're, again, something that you do on your own. And I don't think that is acceptable. He did add that spark. I also have to correct myself. He was a +8, not a +7 in that game, had the assist. And, it's just surprising just to see him, because we asked Iran on Wednesday if he was going to play during the tournament, and he said, we'll see. With the team a little bit struggling at times against South Florida, and Iran blamed himself at the start of that game where they came out a little sluggish, you saw the spark he gave them. And considering he just got here and had one practice, he didn't know any of the plays, I think it was good. I think it was perfect to get him a little bit involved early on. I would imagine he'll play today, and I'll give you my reason in a second, but I think he will be more acclimated because of that first game experience. The reason I think we'll see him a little bit more, one of the areas I think Hawaii doesn't have the depth, and I think they need help, is at the point guard spot. Jovan McClanahan is not going to score 10, 15 points night in, night out. I think we'd love it if we get close to that. He has been really good with assists. He had a 2-game stretch where he had 17 assists combined. Against South Florida, he did not score. He did have 3 assists, but you don't really have a backup there. You can put Coleman there. You could put Junior Madut there. You could put Lotto there. But I think you need more of the pure point guard, especially with the attributes you just mentioned. I think he'll be a spark and hopefully get more minutes today.
Exactly. I think it just comes down to point guard depth. McClanahan is a capable player. I mean, we've seen it, right? Maybe even though he may not be scoring, he does provide a few other things. But I think that's where it comes in. If Justice Jackson, can get his feet going a little bit as far as, get acclimated quicker And if he knows the plays, we'll get a chance to see him more and more. But just having him as a backup, on the bench coming in is going to be really encouraging. But you can slide Coleman to the 1, but I think that kind of takes away from his preference. Right. I remember it was hard for me to find that balance early on in college. Either you wanted me to score or you wanted me to be a point guard. I always had trouble kind of managing both. So I always had that one-track mind, but Coleman is a great scorer, and we don't want to take much away from, his aggressive mentality. So, if we can keep him at the 2 for as much as possible and rotate McClanahan and Jackson at the point guard, that'd be more beneficial.
Another excellent point, I think even more so with Jackson in there. Now that he's had a couple of weeks of practice, I think he'll be even better today, so we'll look forward to that. You are listening to the Rivals Pregame Show, brought to you by Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge, for every sport, for every game, for everyone in the Waikiki, Malia by Outrigger. Gary Dickman and Derrick Lowe here on ESPN Honolulu. We'll be back in just a minute, tell you a little bit more about today's game. We'll get into Long Beach State and the rest of the Big West as well here on ESPN Honolulu and ESPN Honolulu on Facebook.
Here's a team physician tip from Dr. Jay Marumoto.
The majority of meniscus tears in athletes over 30 can do better without surgery if properly diagnosed and treated by the highly skilled sports doctors at Orthopedic Associates.
Dr. Jay Marumoto is the University of Hawaii's most senior team surgeon. For the most advanced sports injury care, contact Orthopedic Associates at 536-2261 or go to oahawaii.com. Orthopedic Associates, Hawaii's team physicians.
In need of cash for home improvements, bill consolidation, tuition, or other expenses? Apply now for a cash-out refinance loan from Finance Factors. Mortgage rates are still low, so it's not too late to refinance your current loan to take cash out to finance other essentials. Finance Factors offers some of the lowest mortgage rates in Hawaii. Call 808-522-2000 or apply online at financefactors.com. Finance Factors, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 449916.
Spectrum Business is proud to support small businesses with the best internet and phone services at the best value. But we want to do more. So now, for a limited time, get 1 month of services for free. That's right, 1 month on us. Get 200 megabit per second internet and business phone, and even TV, all free for 1 month, plus free installation. Call 808-643-5252 or visit spectrum.com/business today. Restrictions apply.
Well, what you doing now? I'm doing my own PV system, and I get homey fall-proof gear. I don't think bubble wrap and duct tape going to work. Yeah, I get them. Check this out. Okay. You okay? I think that heat expanding stuff is true. Getting smoking hot in here. Oh, no. It's raining over here. How we pump all the stuff? Oh, careful.
Make sure to have an electrical contractor and licensed electrician do your photovoltaic installations and electrical work.
IBEW Local 1186, lighting your path to the future.
Meadow Gold Dairies Hawaii is honored to support University of Hawaii as their official milk partner, nourishing and fueling UH athletics with chocolate milk, white milk, orange juice, and POG. Meadow Gold is proud to provide families in Hawaii with the best dairy, juice, and ice cream products for over 124 years. As our University of Hawaii continues their quest to win and become champions, we celebrate their success. Go Bows! Catch the College Football National Championship at Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. Alabama plays fierce rival Georgia Monday afternoon, and we've got your seat at Rivals. Enjoy Waikiki's best wings and a slice of Waikiki pizza. As always, Rivals is following strict safety guidelines, so enjoy the game safely with friends, brews, shots, and great food at Rivals Waikiki on Kuhio in the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.
This is the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu.
Back with Gary Dickman and Derrick Lowe in the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu. Hawaii getting ready to face off in their first Big West game of the season against Long Beach State at the Pyramid. Bobby Curran will be joining us in about 35 minutes or so, and he'll give us the starting lineup. We'll also hear from Bobby the exact roster and exactly who is on this road trip, the one-game road trip, as it turns out, for the University of Hawaii. A little bit later, Derrick and I will give our H factor of the game, the Hawaii player who we feel can be a very important factor and hopefully leading Hawaii to victory today against Long Beach State. And we'll talk more in depth about Long Beach State in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about Hawaii, Derrick. And, I go back to the South Florida game, and Noel Coleman, who's the leading scorer for Hawaii, even though Bernardo Da Silva off the bench is the leading guy off the bench, but Noel Coleman has really stepped up, as you kind of talked about earlier. He had a quiet night with only 16 points. And I say that almost ironically because, the day before he had 31. When he had 31 against Vanderbilt, he was the 11th player in Hawaii history to have over 30 points in a game. It's only been done 16 times. He has just been on a roll, in a groove like that. And we see players get in that zone once in a while, and you see it for a game. I'm not sure if we see it for a 3-game stretch like we've seen with Noel Coleman. It started really with HPU, and then the Vanderbilt game. He slowed down a little against South Florida with 16, but he is just really feeling it. And now that he's healthy or healthier, I can just imagine what he's going to do. He just had a great couple of weeks. He was the Big West Player of the Week. Even though there were no conference games, they still award that, and he won that after the Diamond Head week going into Christmas.
Yeah, I think Noel Coleman just found himself a good, nice little rhythm, and he just caught it, and he just tried to ride it out as long as possible. Hopefully that rhythm doesn't stop, but he's showing the great ability to hit the outside 3-point shot. If I'm not mistaken, did I see somewhere that he's shooting 50% from 3? Is that correct?
I'll double check on that. I know he's, let me see if I can get some numbers on Noel Coleman. I don't have his percentage. I'll get that in just a second. Yes. He probably is, because the numbers he was doing, it sounds like it's right around that number, about 50.
Yeah, 50%. That is crazy. And that's Tony Bennett college 3-point shooting numbers right there. For career, I think he shot 49 or 50%. So that's great. And he's also showed a little bit of ability to move without the ball, backdoor, get to the basket. Once Noel Coleman can find that mid-range game, I think he's going to be very, very hard to stop. But so far, he's been on a terror scoring for sure.
And you are right, 21 of 42 on 3-pointers this year. Considering he had the hip injury and was coming back from that injury and still able to shoot like this, he's been the big bright spot. There have been many for Hawaii this year, but Noel Coleman has done a great job. And, I look back to the South Florida game when I said he had an off night jokingly with 16. We know that teams are very aware of not only the point production, but also the shooting number, the shooting percentage. They're not going to make things easy for him. And in Big West play, as you know, playing in the Pac-12, everybody knows everybody in conference. They know the tendencies, they know strengths and weaknesses. And Long Beach State played against Coleman last year twice. So now they're aware of him from playing against him. They're aware from what he has done so far this season. I'm really curious to see what they have in store for him today as far as defense.
Oh, for sure. It's all about scouting. And, Noel Coleman is no secret. Guarantee you they watched all the film on him. They locked in on what he does most and what he does well. So it won't be a surprise if Long Beach State comes out, switching everything just so they don't find any disadvantages coming off ball screens or anything. I wouldn't be surprised if they jump out and hedge hard on Noel Coleman. Just kind of make things a little bit difficult for him, make him work a little bit extra to get his points. Especially probably knowing their lack of UH's lack of depth at point guard, right? So and more so, I think they're going to apply a little bit more pressure, but. Noel Coleman's a heck of a player, and he'll definitely find a way.
I want to ask you your opinion on this, having played college basketball, because you always hear, and you've seen over the years, we all have, if you get a really hot shooter, especially in college and probably high school, not as much in the NBA, you're going to go zone. You see a team shooting threes really effectively, a high percentage, you're going to go to zone. To me, I think that almost makes it easier for a 3-point shooter, because if you're playing man, and like you said a minute ago, they're going to go hard after him. If you're playing a tight man-to-man against a guy, it's going to make it pretty difficult because the guy's sticking with him. Now, you still might be able to get some separation off of the screen, but if you have a zone, that means the two guys who are going to collapse on him or come out on him got to get there fast. If he's got a quick release, he's going to get that shot off easier. Where are you on that zone versus man-to-man on a hot three-point shooter?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good point that you made. I think that's a tendency for a lot of people to do, to switch the zone, to switch up rhythm, to kind of throw the team off a little bit from running their offense. But like you said, as a shooter, you switch the zone. Sometimes as a shooter, like your eyes start to get super big, because like, I don't need to run around too much. All I got to do is find open gaps. And then hopefully we can go inside and outside and just catch and shoot. It's basically just catch and shoot when you're playing against a zone, right? So for good shooters like Noel Coleman, it's basically like practice, right? So, I mean, that's what I like to think. I remember Arizona State used to run this 1-3-1 zone all the time. So you can kind of imagine there's pockets in the corners, right? And I remember, I think in the second half, I found those open pockets in the corners, and I think I hit like 6 in a row. I chose to go all on James Harden's side just because, he wasn't a stronger defense. So I always chose to go on his side, and it seemed to work out. So, yeah.
I don't think he's played defense ever since, has he, according to a lot of people?
He doesn't need to.
How did he score in that game against you guys? I'm curious about that.
James was super athletic. James was kind of like a jack of all, he did everything. He got some fast break, nasty dunks. He scored threes. He had mid range, just getting to the basket. He kind of did it all, which is obviously why he was, so good in the Pac-10. He was just so refined for a freshman,
Right. I remember him very well, and of course doing a great job now. Another player I want to bring up, Derrick, is Kamaka Hepa. We've talked about him since he got signed. When you hear Texas, just like a lot of Power 5 players coming here, especially with his resume, he played maybe more at Texas than Cy Tumala played at Arizona State, or Noah Allen at UCLA, from what I remember. He was McDonald's, I think, All-American, a 4-star player. And he comes over here, and I think people were expecting probably too much from him. He's still done a good job, but what I like about him lately is that he seemed to be in a comfort zone now. You can see that when you watch him playing against South Florida. He had 16 points, many of them in the first half. He seems to be finding his spots on the court, and I really like what we've seen in him basically from game 1 through game 9 right now. He has shown improvement in every area.
Yeah, I think to be fair, I know for a fact, probably including us, right? Transfer from Texas, we already have expectations up to here, right? But, I think we have to step back just a little bit and kind of just really understand what his role is on this team. Just because he comes from Texas doesn't mean he's going to come in scoring 20 points a game, grabbing 10, 12 rebounds, right? So we got to just understand how he fits on this team at UH. And judging by, seeing him, play all these games, I think his role where he fits in is, to be kind of like a Da Silva, just a high energy, try to grab as much rebounds as possible, has the ability to stretch the floor. But, more so, we're not going to see games where he's averaging 20 a night. So I think he kind of just has to find his spots here and there and just provide a lot of effort and points, wherever he can, because he is versatile. He just has to assume his role better.
Gary Dickman and Derrick Lowe here on the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu. You can also check us out on our Facebook page as well, and check us out and watch us also on Facebook. We'll send it over to Bobby Kern in about 24 minutes or so. When you say about defining his role, that's a great point as well, because really against South Florida and Vanderbilt, without Mate and without Bernardo, he was kind of playing the 5. I mean, technically they list 2 bigs and 3 guards, 2 forwards, 3 guards, but he was more so defending the 5. He was the tallest guy out there. DeRosier might have moved up a little bit too. So you have guys playing out of position because of the injuries and COVID. That really hurts as well. And again, when you have Kamaka having the production he had in that game, I think even more impressive that he was able to accomplish that. He had a couple of assists, he had 4 rebounds, and he shot really well, 5 of 11, 3 of 5 on 3-pointers, and I believe all 3 threes were in the first half also.
Yeah, and Kamaka Hepa is has a lot of potential. He's very versatile, But like I was saying, we can't think like, Kamaka 6'10", he's gonna dominate inside. No, that's not his game, right? So we can just expect him to, be a spacer, right? Set screens, space out, catch and shoot, swing the ball, set good screens, roll, get looks at the basket here and there, and just battle. That's the kind of player he is. And then when we start to see it that way, then I think we'll start to see Kamaka Hepa, coming into his own. So.
And I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about the crisp passing and Justice Jackson and what he added there. If you got Bernardo Da Silva starting, let's just assume that for right now. We know he's going to play today. We'll find out if he's starting in just a little bit with Bobby. But if Bernardo Da Silva's at the 5 and you got Kamaka Hepa basically being a stretch 4, DeRosier at the 3, and you got Coleman at the 2, we talked about the zone versus man-to-man and Noel Coleman's 50% shooting on threes. If you're going to maybe double on him or come hard at him, if you have that crisp passing that you were mentioning, you can get it, if Coleman's covered, you get it swinging around the perimeter to Kamaka Hepa, then you probably have some more open looks. Either way, they could go back and forth and decide who's open and get a high percentage shot. And I think hopefully that will lead to a victory as well. I'm sure they'll approach it that way.
Exactly. Just like you said, with the quick passes, right, works best against a zone and ball screens, especially. So when you take a zone, right, they always say, quick ball movement, reverse the ball, get the zone shifting, right? When you get the zone shifting, that's where you can find open baskets. And then, against a man, especially on ball screens or something, right, you have a player who comes off the ball screen, right, takes the help, drags it out a little bit, right, and then makes that quick pass to a spacer like a Hepa or a DeRosier, right? Then you can get open shots. And it's not just about the crisp passes, but it's about the willingness to make those passes, like guards that aren't afraid, to make certain passes and just go for it. And I think that's what we saw, just a glimpse of from Jackson. So, look forward to seeing more of those kinds of passes and opportunities.
Maybe passing with confidence is one way to label it. We're going to take a break, and when Derrick and I come back, we'll talk about Long Beach State, mention their starters, some of their scoring leaders, some of the players back from last year that you might remember as well. All ahead on the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu and our Facebook page as well.
Got the pothole blues, it's the same old news. Every time I hit the streets, my car takes a beat. My alignment is off and my tires are shot. I need to find a way to lose these pothole blues.
It's okay to sing along, but you don't need to have the pothole blues. Lex Brody's Tire, Brake, and Service Company knows how to cheer you up. First, smiling and welcoming faces. Then, the best value on the island for your wheel alignments, tires, and brakes. Whether it's called our Lex Advantage or our Lex Appeal, we are your best value and choice for Michelin and Toyo tires and brake repairs. Wear your University of Hawaii logoed hat or shirt when you visit an Oahu Lex Brody's location and get an additional 5% off your purchase. Go to LexBrodys.com for more details and for our other Super Saver coupons. Thank you very much.
In need of cash for home improvements, bill consolidation, tuition, or other expenses? Apply now for a cash-out refinance loan from Finance Factors. Mortgage rates are still low, so it's not too late to refinance your current loan to take cash out to finance other essentials. Finance Factors offers some of the lowest mortgage rates in Hawaii. Call 808-522-2000 or apply online at financefactors.com. Finance Factors, equal housing lender, NMLS number 449916.
Hardware Hawaii. Customer first in Kailua.
Hi, this is Eddie. I'm the lead lumber for Hardware Hawaii in Kailua. I like helping customers find what they need. It's not like another stranger just shopping here. My customers are like my friends, and then I just help them all, and I feel good. And it just makes my day. We're out here in the lumberyard ready to serve you.
Hardware Hawaii. Customer first in Kailua.
We know the holidays look different for everyone, so we created the perfect fleet to take you on your ultimate road home. Experience a more exhilarating holiday during the BMW Ultimate Road Home Sales Event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Don't miss out on end-of-the-year special offers on new and pre-owned vehicles at BMW of Honolulu. Call or text us today. Visit BMWHawaii.com.
When we talk about reimagining healthcare at Hawaii Pacific Health, we're really talking about you. Because making it easier for you to be healthier is what it's all about. With video visits to see your doctor from anywhere. With virtual urgent care. With more clinics near where you live and work. And with a personalized approach that focuses on prevention. We're reimagining healthcare for you. Visit hawaiipacifichealth.org/telehealth.
This is the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu.
Welcome back, Gary Dickman and Derrick Lowe here on ESPN Honolulu. We'll send it over to Bobby Kern in about 19 minutes from now. Let's talk a little bit about Long Beach State, Derrick, the opponent tonight. I mentioned how last year Hawaii defeated them twice, 2 days in a row at the Stan Sheriff Center, Simplify Arena, 78-76 and then 79-76. You can't get much closer than that. You can't get much closer than this either. Both teams averaged the exact same amount of points this year, 74.9. Exactly. The difference is Long Beach State is letting up 81.6, Hawaii letting up 69.7, so about a 12-point differential there. Long Beach State has 3 starters back from last year. You might remember them if you can remember the games from last year. Jordan Roberts is back. Jaden Jones is a freshman who was a freshman last year, but because of COVID, he gets the year back. He's averaging 8.2 points. Last year against Hawaii, he was the leading scorer with 13 points, but he had 27 against UCLA the other night. We'll get to that scenario in just a minute, how that was an added game last minute. Romel Mansell is another big for them. He's 6'9", it's a sophomore. He's only averaging 3.3 points a game, but he is a starter, and he is back from last year. But their leading scorer comes off the bench. Joel Murray averages 15.1, and he had 30 against UCLA. He's a 6-foot junior guard. Kind of interesting that they've got their leading scorer off the bench. They've only got one starter averaging double figures, and that is Colin Slater, the point guard, at 12.8. Interesting lineup that they have, but we know Dan Munson, as far as the past, how he likes to play. They're going to be a tough opponent every year. They get some good D1 transfers. They have a couple this year, and they're always that type of team where you never feel overconfident that you can beat them.
Yeah, I mean, look at the luxury. I'm sure any coach would love to have someone coming off the bench to score 30, right? Just to have that power, that scoring punch off the bench. But, Long Beach State, I mean, they definitely have capable players who can put the ball in the basket, long athletic players. Like you mentioned, their point guard, Colin Slater, I think he's a quick little feisty guard, has the ability to come off the screen, shoot threes, get into the lane and dish. But yeah, they got some potent scorers in Jaden Jones, like you were mentioning earlier. I mean, for anyone to score 27 against a top 5 team in the nation, that says a lot. And but I think one of the biggest things for Long Beach State is I think 2 things. One, like we've seen, they get a lot of contribution from everybody from their bench. I think last game they had 30 bench points. I'm not too sure if that's just because they were losing to UCLA by a lot, and bench players rotate in and get going, or if they really, I don't know what that says, but it's the fact that they have 30 bench points is good. But also they like to get out a lot in transition, off turnovers, or just push the ball and not let the defense set. So they had 17 fast break points last game, and I think that's one of their strengths.
Yeah, you look at Long Beach State, they are 4-8, Hawaii is 4-5, but look at the wins for Long Beach State. They beat Idaho in overtime on the road. That's going to be their most impressive win, as you will hear. They also beat Wright State by 9, and that was in a tournament game. The other wins are against Bethesda. I think they're D2, and maybe even D3. They beat them by 32 or 33 points. And then the only win was against I think it's an NAIA school, Westcliff. Now, they had that 23-day stretch with no games, so they got 2 games on short notice just to get into a rhythm, and it's smart on their part. You're playing Hawaii, who's now had 18 days off. Long Beach State would have had, 26 days off, but they scheduled 2 games, last-minute notice against Westcliff, beat them 90-64, and for the second time this year, they played UCLA. They were scheduled to play them on November 15th, and they lost by 21, 100-79. And then they played them on Wednesday night. UCLA had their game canceled against Stanford. Stanford's still struggling with COVID. So UCLA and Long Beach State got together, had a game, kind of a makeup game, and Long Beach State lost 96-78, but they don't have any impressive wins. I don't know if that means a lot right now because the schedule has been affected by COVID, but their biggest win is against Idaho. So I think that's kind of telling right there.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely haven't had any big wins, but they also, the other side that you can argue is that they played against some pretty good teams. I think USC and UCLA, some strong powerhouses. So that's the other thing. It's not going to be a surprise to play against good competition. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a tale of, similar teams, but different a little bit. Like, for instance, I think Long Beach State starts well. Hawaii doesn't start too well.
No, they haven't.
Hawaii tends to finish well. So we kind of see that balance right there. And, I think if Hawaii can come out hot, even after having all these days off, if they can come out, start good, get into a rhythm, I think they have the advantage. So,
right, and hopefully fatigue won't be a factor. Rust could be for Hawaii, as we mentioned, so we'll keep our eyes on that. You are listening to the Rivals Pregame Show, brought to you by Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. For every sport, for every game, for everyone in the Waikiki, Malia by Outrigger. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and we'll give our H factor of the game coming up next on ESPN Honolulu and Facebook.
Meadow Gold Dairies Hawaii is honored to support University of Hawaii as their official milk partner, nourishing and fueling UH athletics with chocolate milk, white milk, orange juice, and POG. Meadow Gold is proud to provide families in Hawaii with the best dairy, juice, and ice cream products for over 124 years. As our University of Hawaii continues their quest to win and become champions, we celebrate their success. Go Bows!
When we talk about reimagining healthcare at Hawaii Pacific Health, we're really talking about you. Because making it easier for you to be healthier is what it's all about. With video visits to see your doctor from anywhere. With virtual urgent care. With more clinics near where you live and work. And with a personalized approach that focuses on prevention. We're reimagining healthcare for you. Visit hawaiipacifichealth.org/telehealth.
Catch the College Football National Championship at Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. Alabama plays fierce rival Georgia Monday afternoon, and we've got your seat at Rivals. Enjoy Waikiki's best wings and a slice of Waikiki pizza. As always, Rivals is following strict safety guidelines to enjoy the game safely with friends, brews, shots, and great food at Rivals Waikiki on Kuhio in the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.
Voted Hawaii's best local coffee brand for years, Lion Coffee has been roasting since 1864 and is proud to introduce their new cold brew coffees. Available in 4 island-inspired flavors: classic, vanilla macadamia, toasted coconut, and mocha. These Lion cold brew coffees are made in Hawaii and conveniently available in 11-ounce cans at select grocery and convenience stores. Now you can enjoy a refreshing cold brew from Lion Coffee at home or on the go. It's the same roar in every pour, now in a can.
Have you been to Midas Hawaii?
Hello, Tim here from Midas Hawaii, where we are more than just mufflers. We are complete auto care, rated #1 in customer service. We strive to make your experience more enjoyable, whether it be for a walk-in safety check 6 days a week, brakes to radiators, or oil changes and steering. With 6 locations on Oahu, 2 on the Big Island, 1 on Kauai, our goal is to expedite your service and get you back out on the road. We also want to help you save money. For great rates, check out our webpage at MidasHawaii.com for specials, online deals, for services such as oil change, safety checks, and maintenance packages. And let's not forget about our tire services too. Midas is a one-stop shop for all your car care needs and is proud to be locally owned and operated by the Pereira family. Come in today or call us for an appointment. Remember, it always pays to have the Midas touch.
You came for it, so we do that. So we might as well.
This is the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu.
Gary Dickman and Derrick Lowe on the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu. You can also check us out on ESPN Honolulu on Facebook. And we'll send it over to Bobby Kern in about 10 minutes to get the latest on the lineup and the roster for the University of Hawaii. Right now, Derrick, let's go over our H factor of the game. And for me, I'll go first this time for whatever reason. I'm going to go with Bernardo Da Silva. We talked about him at the top, and if you are just tuning in, we do know he's on this trip, and he is expected to play. I am not sure if he's going to start. I heard he could, and I'm not sure what his minute count will be. I'm not sure if he's going to play like he would normally, but at least he's in the lineup, and especially with Long Beach State with 2 6'9" starters, you need Da Silva in there, because if your front court is just Kamaka and Jerome DeRozier, not that those guys aren't adequate, but you need a little bit more size. And Bernardo Da Silva, a great rebounder, with over 8 rebounds a game in limited time, really over those first 3 games of the season. I think he can be an important factor both on offense and defense. If he can just contribute 10, 11 points and keep the defense honest, would you have a low post game, an inside game? And also on defense, maybe block some shots, get some rebounds, limit Long Beach State on the offensive rebound. I think he's a very important player today. He's my H factor, Bernardo Da Silva.
No, that's a good pick. I like that pick. I'm gonna go with Coleman, but I don't want to pick him just because he's
cop out according to
the
people.
Best player. I know, but I'm gonna give my reason. Okay, so Coleman, because one, he's obviously the engine that drives UH. Right, as he goes, the team goes. I mean, we've seen some games where he literally scored almost the entire team's points in the first half. He's been that guy. And, just knowing how conference play gets, right, I'm pretty sure Long Beach State is going to, alter their defense center it around Coleman, right? They're going to throw things at him. And I think Coleman is going to have to be really sharp with, how he plays. I don't think things are going to be as easy as it was. He's going to attract a lot of the attention. So, he's definitely going to have a lot of pressure. So, I definitely want to see how he does, how he plays off of that. If he can find open guys, still be aggressive in attack and still be able to hit shots. Like I was saying, the team is going to go as he goes. So he's going to be my H factor player.
I think those are both excellent choices. And I think in a perfect world, we'll have somebody else end up being the H factor. In other words, you'll have Bernardo and Coleman doing what they do, but another player will step up, whether it's DeRozier's, Kamaka, Junior Madut, and maybe have a really good performance on both ends. And, we haven't mentioned Junior Madut, but he's averaging 11.7 points a game. He's done a good job, and he's done a good job defensively. But having Noel Coleman doing what he does, and if Bernardo can do what he does, I think it could bode well for Hawaii. So we'll see how that works out once again with our H factor player of the game. Let's go over the Big West right now as far as other games, and we still don't have a full slate. The one game that was canceled today is Santa Barbara, expected to host Bakersfield, and I believe it's on Santa Barbara's end as far as the COVID cases. But a couple of games starting at 11 a.m., of course, Hawaii and Long Beach State. And for those of you that care, Long Beach State favored by 2.5 points. They're at home, so that makes sense. The other game starting at 11 is Csun against Cal Poly. That is an 11 a.m. start. At 3 o'clock today, Irvine at Riverside. Also at 3 o'clock, UC San Diego at UC Davis. And those are the 4 games. If those games, and I guess they would be all played, they would have been canceled by now if something was going on. That'll be the most games played in one day in Big West play this season. Again, as I mentioned, going into this week, only 3 Big West games were played. Let's give a quick look at the standing, and I'll get your thoughts on some of these teams. And we know it's very, very early, and only a couple of conference games so far. UC San Diego actually had a pretty good start. They were 2-0, lost earlier this week, so they're at 2-1. But the undefeated teams are Riverside and Fullerton. They're only 1-0 right now. Riverside's 5-0 at home. Fullerton's 4-1 at home. It might be more so on their opponents, though, when you look at that. 7-4 overall for Riverside, 7-5 for Fullerton. Davis, Irvine, Long Beach State, Cal Poly, Hawaii have not played a Big West game. And then you have Santa Barbara at 0-1. They lost to San Diego. I think that was a surprise to many in the Big West. And then Bakersfield 0-1 and Csun 0-1. I know there haven't been a lot of games played. Do you have any thoughts on what you heard with the numbers, at least early on?
Oh, I think we were talking about it a little earlier. we know there's a down year in the ACC, right? But with the Big West, it could be the same, right? With and rankings, you know, they have a little bit of merit to it, but it doesn't tell everything. And, you know, I just think it's still early. And also that it could, you know, the Big West could be up for grabs, you know, it could be any teams. So, you know, with that said, you know, hopefully, you know, UH can get off to a good start and just ride it out. So,
you know, when you look at the games Hawaii's lost with the canceled games, it was UC Davis, Riverside, and Fullerton. I think you would like to have played those games. If you're going to get games canceled, have them be Irvine or Santa Barbara. And those teams are usually picked at the top these days, and we know why. Early on in Big West play, but every game is even more crucial and critical because you're not going to play the full 20-game slate. And if more games are canceled, you go by winning percentage to decide the seeding and division champion. You need every single win. Well, that'll about wrap it up for us with the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu. I will talk to you guys at halftime. Bobby Curran will give stats. We'll talk about what's gone on and what's expected in the second half. Derrick, Lowe, and myself will see you Thursday at Simplify Arena at the Stan Sheriff Center with a homestand, and we're looking forward to that, as next week it'll be Bakersfield and Cal Poly. We're going to take a break and send it over to Bobby Curran right here on ESPN Honolulu.
Here's a team physician tip from Dr. Jay Marumoto.
All rotator cuff tears are not the same. With the most accurate diagnosis and treatment from Orthopedic Associates, many rotator cuff tears can avoid surgery.
Dr. Jay Marumoto is the University of Hawaii's most senior team surgeon. For the most advanced sports injury care, contact Orthopedic Associates at 536-2261 or go to oahawaii.com. Orthopedic Associates, Hawaii's team physicians.
At Dial Electric Supply, we're all about seeing the light. That means understanding that we need to pull together to put the COVID-19 pandemic behind us. Do your part in social distancing, wearing masks, and hand washing. Our sales counter and will call remains open, and our Dial Lighting Gallery showroom is now open by appointment only. Go online to www.dialelectricsupply.com, open on weekdays from 7 to 3 and Saturdays from 9 to 3, serving electricians, developers, utility companies,